How's it going, everybody? My name is DeMarco, and today with the Xbox Developer Direct Conference in just under a week taking place on January 25th, it is an exciting time as we ramp up to some new gameplay reveals, some exciting gameplay showcases for titles such as Redfall, the biggest content update for Elder Scrolls Online, Minecraft will be there if you're into that, and some other games as well. So while it will be a smaller showcase, it's still going to definitely be an exciting one. And on top of that, I know why most of you are here. I do. There is no Starfield confirmed to be at this showcase. However, because there's just too much to cram into that other showcase, it needs its very own display, its very own stage floor, and we do know that a Starfield individual showcase is coming sometime after the fact. Now, we don't know exactly when that date will be as of yet. However, my suspicion is that by the end of this Developer Direct Conference, we will have some confirmation of when we can expect to see the Starfield showcase. So it's going to be exciting to tune into that one. As a heads up, if you're watching this, I will be streaming the Xbox Developer Direct Showcase as well as the Starfield exclusive showcase coming after, of course. How could I miss something like that? So I'll be streaming my thoughts during the show. Hope to see many of you guys there. It's always fun to stream these types of events. Today, in excitement, I figured we would jump into some of the announcements and some of the reveals, some of the features I hope that we get shown off during the Starfield showcase, because there's still a lot of question marks in the air about this game. There's still a lot of things that we're wondering. How does this system work? How will this play out? A lot of questions surrounding the procedural generation. I think that Will Shen's Q&A video generally raised a lot of questions where settlements and locations can be dynamically placed, and how does that play out, right? So there's a lot of questions we have. There's a lot of things we want to see. Today I'm going to go through some of the biggest that I'm hoping for. Let's get started. Number one, very clearly, is a release date. I think it goes without saying, all of us want to know when the hell we're actually going to get to play Starfield, and I'm fully expecting that by the end of the showcase, we will know when Starfield is releasing. In fact, if you take a look at some of the Instagram posts for Bethesda, you'll find that they're teasing the release date coming very soon, and the only logical place this would take place is in the Starfield showcase that's upcoming sometime in February. So that in and of itself is something very much to look forward to, because I and everybody else want to know when the heck this game's coming out. And hopefully, I know there's some people who have their eyes set on like March of 2023. I still think June makes the most sense personally, but we'll see. Anything you hear is just guesses. There's a lot of rumors going around about the release date. So hold on to your hats, wait a bit. We'll find out at this showcase, and then we'll see who is right, whose guess is correct. All right, number two, some of the tech behind what was mentioned in the past. A lot of questions, and I sort of hinted at this earlier, are surrounding features in Starfield such as the procedural generation. How do these settlements, how do these random encounters dynamically place locations? What do they look like? Is it fueled purely by Radiant? Is it the Radiant quest system that Bethesda has used in the past? Is it some kind of hybrid system? What does it look like actually in practice? We know that all of the planets are mostly going to be procedural generation, and we know that we can land anywhere on those planets. So is there any benefit to going anywhere on the planets, or should we only stick to the pre-made locations, the pre-made points of interest that are there? And then on top of that, what does scanning the planets for points of interest look like? Is it done automatically? Do we have to consciously go near a planet, scan it, and then say, all right, move on? An explanation of that star map that we've seen. How does that work? And just walk us through exactly what we're looking at on the screen. So an explanation of some of these systems that are here. Crafting could be put among those, as well as the leveling up, even though we saw them briefly. Just a bit of a deeper dive into some of those areas. Number three, and a lot of what we're going to talk about today can be encompassed by this, but just simply unedited gameplay. If you look back at the Skyrim demo that was shown off, there was a lot that was shown there. It was mostly unedited, of course, some cuts to get to the points of interest so they could talk about the features that they wanted to, but it was wasn't like what we saw at the Bethesda Microsoft conference. There were a lot of slices in there, a lot of just snippets of things going by very quickly, but ideally Bethesda and Todd Howard can show up on the stage and exemplify on screen, what does walking into a town look like? What does it look like to find a dungeon in Starfield, to enter that, to talk to NPCs in real time? And of course, all of that backed by Todd Howard narrating and walking us through exactly what's going on. This would allow us also to see things like the inventory system. Again, going back to how the Skyrim demo was shown, that's exactly what we got to see, those real moment-to-moment bits that help us really illuminate what the entire experience is going to be like when we get to play Starfield. To take this a bit further, I actually reached out to you guys through the community YouTube tab and asked what features you wanted to see in Starfield, and I got some great replies. And Kem, or Sam, I apologize, not sure the correct pronunciation on this one, but they said, I actually prefer if they show us things that we have already seen and discussed for weeks, if not months, but expand on them greatly to put our minds at ease a bit. I completely agree. For example, showing us in-game systems of landing on a planet, the full extent of gunplay, and the new persuasion mechanic at its finest might be better than giving us a sneak peek of something completely new they've never shown before. And I do think that reinforcing some of those systems that we've seen is probably the best thing that they could do for Starfield to really get players on board. Like, okay, I'm sold. Number 4 is going to involve the settlement system, and GMK actually agreed. He said settlements. Plain and simple. Loved it. But when I asked if they could be more specific, he mentioned, I think if they could show how it'll be more organic with settlers moving in, also wants settlements to have real purpose. And I think that was one of the weak spots in settlements from past Bethesda games, specifically Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. So how have they evolved? What role do they fill? Have they borrowed inspiration from some amazing creations such as Sim Settlements, which I will never play Fallout 4 without anymore because it's that great? Do they borrow some inspiration there? Certainly hope so. Then some other important questions too. I think GMK hit a nail on the head with having them supply some genuine purpose to the game. Of course, it needs to still be an optional element. I don't think it should be mandatory whatsoever. But when you're talking about a universe that has over 100 star systems and over 1,000 or about 1,000 planets in the game, what is the benefit to having a couple outposts on a few of those? What do I get out of that? It's going to raise a lot of questions, and I hope we get to see some of that during the gameplay showcase. Also, build limits, while I'm on the topic, need to be expanded. I mean, you're talking about mostly barren planets. There should be no reason why you can't pump that build limit up to 1,000th degree. For number 5, I would like to see what landing on planets and traversal through different systems looks like. We know that there's no space to ground landing in Starfield. It simply wasn't a priority for the game, and for what it's worth, while it's a cool feature, I don't think it's needed either. I'm glad that Bethesda spent the time and the resources to develop and flesh out other parts of the game. But what does traveling through those systems look like? What does picking any point on the planet to land there look like? How does that play out through gameplay? Do we need to enter into that sort of galaxy map that we saw during the gameplay showcase? Can we chart our courses without it? Probably not. These are things, again, that we'll see answered through just unedited gameplay. And then I think the last major question I have on the topic is, how far can we go through space just by flying, right? Can we go to that distant planet without having to enter some kind of other interface, whether it's a map or a star chart, what have you? My personal guess is that you'll be locked into a small section outside of planets, and you can navigate and find like a space station there, or a derelict ship, or get in a fight with space pirates, what have you. And then most of the travel between regions will have to be done through a map. Probably just pissed off half of the Starfield community with that prediction, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be surprised. Number 6 is going to be the highlights of the new follower system. We've heard how they're more dynamic, how they respond to more things, they're more believable, they feel like real people, and of course Todd Howard has emphasized how much those interactions and getting them right between dialogue and just their ambient noticing of things around them, how that needed to improve from past Bethesda games. So how does that play out? Ideally, a new companion introduced as well, maybe somebody like Barrett, who a lot of people are speculating can come along with you as a follower? How do they respond to all this stuff? What new commands and orders can you give them to make things feel more realistic? What will they do if you try to make them do things they don't want to, right? What's the new follower system look like? How have they improved upon them since Fallout 4? Really hoping to get a bit of a deeper look into that side of things. Now, 2 suggestions that have come from you guys, the community. Texas Rhino stated mini games, and absolutely, I agree with this one. I would like to see, I'm assuming you meant something in line with the Pip-Boy games that you had in Fallout 4, which I thought were a pretty neat and immersive addition to the game. It was gimmicky, but it was cool. And we've seen in past concept art how much Bethesda is focused on trying to make this world feel alive, trying to make it feel lived in and believable, and just flat out immersive is the best word I can use for it. So they're concepting, what does the food look like? What do you eat off of in those trays that we've seen, right? How do they package it? What toys do kids have? We've seen that concept art with their sleeping conditions aboard the starship. So trying to make these environments feel believable, and part of that is going to include pastime and just relaxing activities that you can do. Should there be arcade machines on board your ship? Abso-freaking-lutely, yes! What are the recreational activities that people take part in? Because of course, most of them are not going to be space explorers. Todd Howard himself stated that travel is still dangerous. It's a hard thing to do, so not many people, the average citizen, is not going to. You, of course, as the protagonist and the hero, or I guess the villain of the game, can choose to do that because you're special. Archim Cardi stated, I would like to see more details on the space flight mechanics and how exploring planets will work, like if we can drive rovers. That's why I wanted to highlight this comment here, because a lot of people are speculating the possibility of ground vehicles. Someone pointed out that there's kind of tire tracks on the spaceship landing floor, the landing pad that's there, and I'm gonna put my foot down right now and say probably no land vehicles. Those tire tracks can very easily be justified by somebody loading cargo with some kind of wheeled device onto the ship. I don't know why people immediately jump to land. I mean, I get why people jump to land vehicles, but I don't think that is the case. It's much more difficult to program that sort of thing than a spaceship is, because spaceship, obviously zero gravity, you can move 360 degrees around you, but a physical land vehicle that's limited by the gravity around it, when of course we know that every planet has different gravity. If there is some kind of land vehicle that's available, I would want to say they probably would have shown it off during the first reveal of the game, if they haven't already. I'm leaning towards no. The number 2 thing that probably just annoyed a lot of Starfield fans, but that's what I'm here for, folks. Positivity and ruining your dreams about Starfield. Last but not least on my list for what I hope to see, and of course, ideally we get all of these. If we get some of them, I'm still going to call it a win, but that's going to be the crew mechanics on the ship. One of the things I was intrigued most by was being able to get your own crew on your Starfield ship. Of course, you could customize the ship and then hire people to come on board. What does that look like? Are there different specialties? Does it matter where you place them? Is it just some arbitrary number and they'll randomly go to different parts of your ship wherever there's room for them? I want to know more about the benefits of having crewmates with what I assume is going to be some pretty small crew sizes. It's not a big deal if some of them are just generic NPCs working on your ship. Like, fine, it is what it is, and I would hope that a lot of them, in fact most of them, are going to be NPCs with personalities mixed with some of the followers that are really fleshed out and really believable. If you hire an engineer or some NPC says, I'm great at fixing things, and you put them in the med bay, you know, is that going to be allowed? Interests, like dislikes, maybe they leave for a better deal, right? How dynamic do they actually make that? And of course, if it's not here, maybe in a sequel in the 2050s, possibly, if we're lucky for Starfield 2. Those are my hopes for Starfield's gameplay showcase coming sometime in February. That's speculation, by the way, not confirmed. And thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what your guys are thinking down in the comment section below, what you want to get out of this showcase. If I missed anything, or if you agree with one in particular or all of them, more than happy to hear what you guys have to say. That's what makes doing this fun for me. So thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I hope to see you all next time. So long, everybody.